now we are a hybrid environment. So here at our corporate office, most people work a couple days in the office, and the rest of the week they're at home. So, and in our position as a business analyst or a tester, you can work independently, and you know, working from home is something that's very doable, and it's really becoming more and more commonplace for a lot of people now that businesses know that employees can be productive at home. A lot of places have shut down their corporate location and gone to a completely remote workspace. So it is completely possible to do a testing job in a remote environment. So, but when they're at the office, each partner or even the contractors that we use, they have their own workspace. They'll work individually, but then there's also a lot of collaboration that happens with their peers and other partners throughout the credit union. You know, the credit union has provided computer equipment for each partner, which is a partner is one of our employees. It's what we call our employees. They have tablets they take home with them, and they have enough computer equipment at home, keyboards, monitors, that type of thing. And then they have the same environment at work. So they can very easily work in both environments. So it's been very, it was a change for some of us who, I had never worked in a remote environment. I had always worked in an office. So it was actually kind of nice to be able to work from home. So as far as our testing is concerned, like I said earlier, we've only had testers on our staff for the last couple of years. And we really started that journey with our third-party company that we engage with, and they're called Engage. They are a company that hires employees in some instances as a way to get them trained and developed in their environment, and then they contract them out to various companies with the full intent of placing that partner or that person in a full-time position. And Engage offers training. They have boot camp that they put their employees through, and then they have additional training. So that's a good avenue if you're wanting to get into quality assurance. There are companies out there that you can work for, and then they contract you out to other employees like the credit union and other businesses, and they handle a lot of training. So and that was a really good opportunity for us because testing was new to us, so we weren't really sure. You know what you're looking for, but putting a training plan together is it's a big job for any organization. So if there's organizations out there that already do the training for you, then that's helpful for us. So trying to think about what skills do we look for when we are looking to hire someone or fill even from a contractor position. And so these are some of the key things that we look for. Attention to detail is very important. A tester is going to be asked to dig into whatever process or product they're testing to the point where you want to try and break it. You want to know how it works forwards and backwards and be able to really understand the minute little details. Having an interest in technology, like Steve said, his hands-on experience working on computers has helped. Even taking programming classes, basic programming classes, whether it's SQL programming or Java programming or even HTML programming, that's all very helpful because then you understand what the code is trying to do to help you figure out what your testing needs to look like. Having an aptitude for learning and testing. you learn something new with every project that you work on. Every test that you run, you're learning something new. So just having that, we'll call it a hunger for learning, is very good. Written and verbal communication skills. As a tester, you're going to be presenting your results to the business team. And sometimes these are vice presidents, they could be senior level or chief level executives. So having the ability to speak to them verbally and in writing is always helpful. Again, understanding the basic coding principles, problem-solving skills. I mean, and this can be as simple as solving puzzles and just basic everyday, little challenges and things like that. So sometimes those are some of these skills are things you acquire over time, not necessarily classes around them. I guess there could be, but. And then of course your office products. We use Excel and Word and Visio. So I don't know if you've had exposure to Visio, but it's a data flow diagram software. I mean, it does a lot of other things, but it's very helpful for us to map out, visually see what the process is today and what it's going to look like. And that helps with the testing as well. So, and some of the things that the credit union looks at as far as school and experience, we don't require a degree to have a position as a software quality assurance. We'll look for a degree, but equivalent work experience, work-related experience can also be considered. We do like to see at least 1 year of SQA testing experience, especially with small to medium-sized testing efforts. Experience using Microsoft products. The certifications that Stephen mentioned, the ISTQB, which is the International Software Testing Qualifications Board, that's an industry standard. And those classes are online classes you can take and online certifications. So those are a plus. We don't necessarily require them, but if you're looking at a career in quality assurance, I would definitely encourage you to explore those options. Experience with quality assurance testing processes, frameworks, and methodologies. And again, those are some of the things you learn during your certification. Experience with third-party vendor testing. Here at the credit union, we have one core system that runs our teller platform, our deposits, withdrawals, things like that. But we have a multitude of third-party vendors that attach to our system. So there's typically a third party involved in our processes. We recently implemented a new loan for members, and it's accessible through our website, but you're actually doing the loan on our third-party vendors platform, and it just integrates into our system. So there's a lot of integration testing that happens. And again, strong written and verbal communications. I mean, that's very important across the board. So when it comes to advice that I would give you, I would definitely say programming, having a programming background is helpful, whether that's Java, HTML, SQL, whatever the current computer language is. It helps with some automation testing. Here at the credit union, we have not done a lot of automation testing. We're starting to use bots for some items, but that seems to be the wave of the future. So learning the programming side, it would be helpful. Having that programming background gives you the tools you need to kind of speak the language to the developer or programmer. If you've ever taken a programming class or talked to somebody who does programming, you know, they kind of speak their own language, and it's helpful to understand what they're talking about. Curiosity is important. Wanting to know how things work and understand why something is the way it is always very helpful, and it helps you look at things a different way as well. Think outside the box. Don't, you know, a lot of people will be given a problem and they look within certain boundaries. Being able to look outside the boundaries and look at something differently from a change of perspective or just a completely more creative aspect, that can be very helpful as well. Attention to detail, and ask a lot of questions of your business team. There's never a stupid question. So I'm always asking questions. It drives people crazy. And then again, problem solving skills, puzzles and riddles and things like that, being able to solve those, and having that analytical brain is really a benefit to SQA. And Steve, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I think we pretty well covered it there.
Okay. Suzanne, anything from your end? Anybody have questions?
Yeah, thank you very much. We do appreciate this. Is a lot of really great information. We do have a couple of questions for you. Steve, actually, the first one is for you. Okay. You mentioned that you were a contractor. And can you tell us the pros and cons of being a contractor versus being at a company? And then you might also, because we have quite a few students on the line this time, explain what a contractor is for those who don't know.
Okay, well, a contractor is a company that will hire you and then sort of, how do I want to put it, sell you to another company. So you're working for them, but you're also working for the company that, like, right, Pat, like, the best thing about being a contractor, it's definitely for people who like change a lot, because you'll go from place to place. You may work at some place just for one project and then move on to another company. With that, there's also the negative side to being a contractor, as there could be downtime between your jobs. So if that's something that doesn't bother you, contracting can be very, very lucrative. As far as working directly for a company, the nice thing is you have the benefit of being in one place constantly. You get to learn what's going on, and just kind of being able to settle in and really get to know the place well, I think.
Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm. Then we have another question about, they were asking exactly what is SQA? What does it entail? If you can elaborate a little bit, Tammy or Steve, about what it is. We know you're a tester. For you guys' perspective, you test software. So there's a developer on the other end who is developing new code to meet a need of the business. And then your job is to go in to make sure that they have developed it right, encoded it right, and it would integrate correctly with existing applications. It won't cause any problems. Is that correct?
Yeah. So when the developer gives the programming, when they've completed their programming, they'll turn it back over to the tester, and they go into a test environment, and they will run the process the way it's supposed to run and make sure that the results are what's expected. So if we're putting, say we're building a new report that's probably an easy example. When they run that process, is the output pulling the right data? Are the results that are provided, are they expected? But not only do they test to make sure things are working, they will try to break it and do things that you wouldn't think someone would do. So like if we're putting something in place for a teller, they're going to run a process to maybe change someone's address on their account. So there's a certain way that that's supposed to be done. And they'll test that and make sure that it's working. But then they'll try to do it a different way to make sure that it will stop them and stop the person from making the change, kind of like going through a back door, right? So that a lot of times trying to break something is as important as making sure that it's working the way it's supposed to. So software quality assurance is really just making sure that the process or the integration from the vendor into our core system, or the data flow from our core system into our warehouse, that everything from point A to point B is correct and working as expected. So does that answer the question?
That's great. Thank you very much. I have one other follow-up question. So when you're testing, do you all write a test plan? So do the developers give you the test cases, or do you determine what you're going to test and then you provide the feedback to the development team?
The testing team will work with the business analyst. So the business analyst creates the business requirements, which will include functional requirements as well. It'll cover what we're supposed to be getting and how it's supposed to work. That then goes to the programmer, and they build what we ask them to build. In the meantime, SQA is taking that business requirements and they're saying, oh, it's supposed to do this. We're going to put that on the test plan. It's supposed to do A, it's supposed to do B. So they take those items and put them into the test plan. And then they take it one step further into the test script with all the various scenarios. So we could be putting something out there. We would have to, so here at the credit union, we would test to make sure the process works if I'm on a personal account, or if I'm on a business account, or if I'm on a custodian account. So we have different types of accounts. We have different types of deposits within those accounts. We have savings accounts and checking accounts and all of that. So those are all of the different variables that we then tie into the test plan for each individual test script or test case. So one kind of leads to the other and it builds upon it and it gets more and more detailed.
Great. Thank you for that information. We have one final question. And it is, since you're working at a bank and there's obviously a lot of more security from the bank and keeping people's information secure, are you all required to pass a background check, security check before having an appointment?
We do, yes. Our HR department will do, I'm trying to think, it's been a while since I've been through the HR process. They do screening, they do drug testing, they do credit checks, basic checks like that. I believe they will check criminal records or public records, things like that. I think they're starting to look at social media as well. Like if I know when I am interviewing contractors to come on board, I will look at their LinkedIn profile, or I don't necessarily look out on Facebook or Instagram, but I will check their LinkedIn profile just to see what their, who their business connections are, and if what they're saying on their resume matches what they've been doing on, what their presence on LinkedIn looks like. So, but I would just want to clarify one thing. When someone asked the difference between a contractor and being an employee. Some of the main differences with the contractor is, so Stephen worked for Engage. Engage pays him. the credit union signs off on his time card, and we pay an invoice to Engage, and then Engage then turns around and pays their contractors. So all of their benefits are through the company that they're, whether it's Engage or Thrive or whatever. And there's a lot of different consulting companies out there. And what I have found, just talking with the contractors that we have, some get benefits through their company, some don't. And that benefit could be whether it's health and medical coverage, or even just time off. Some of our contractors, when we close for say we close for Thanksgiving, if they don't get any holiday pay, so they don't work. They don't get paid, that kind of thing. So sometimes it can be as basic as, am I going to get paid for the day? Versus, when it's a holiday, or if I want to take a vacation day, they don't have necessarily a vacation bank, where as an employee, at least here at the credit union, you would have, those benefits. So it's sometimes, there's a difference in the benefits that you would earn as an employee, because you're either an employee at the business, or you're an employee with your company, your contracting company.
Okay, thank you. Tammy and Steve, we greatly appreciate your time today. It's been really informational. I know I learned a lot about quality assurance and testing. We thank you for your time and your support of supporting our high schools and our students. And thank you very much. You're free to go if you like. And